Good evening, my name is Kacper Paradowski and you're watching Poland Daily News. There are no holds barred in the presidential campaign for Civic Platform Party candidate Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska. The incidents in Puck, as well as the recent brutal attacks on the head of the campaign of President Andrzej Duda, Joanna Turczynowicz-Kieryło, indicate that fair play no longer applies.
The Gazeta Wyborcza newspaper reported on an incident concerning the head of President Andrzej Duda's election campaign, Joanna Turczynowicz-Kieryło. She was to bite a resident in Milanówek in the forearm during the election silence before the second round of local elections in 2019. According to the authors of the article, Turczynowicz-Kieryło was distributing posters ridiculing one of the candidates. When he attempted to stop her, she bit his hand. Ms. Jolanta referred to the matter, explaining that the situation was in fact completely different. According to the woman, she and her 15-year-old son were brutally attacked by the man, which prompted her attack in defense of her son. The Wyborcza newspaper today reached a new low. It stood on the side of a woman beater against a mother who was defending her own child. It hid the doctor's report that the perpetrator was strangling me. It hid the fact that we were attacked by a professional hater described as such in national media. The story published by Gazeta Wyborcza was quickly picked up by the politicians of the opposition and journalists. Roman Giertych took to Facebook to publish a peculiar story of his own authorship. Once upon a time, at night, around 2 a.m., you decided to go on a walk with your son around the family home. The stars were twinkling, the nightingale sang, the frogs crowed, and you were shining upon your descendant the beauty of the wild nightlife. Suddenly, an imposing man came out of the band, throwing election leaflets under your feet, prepared just for this occasion. You supported the candidate being advertised on them and fought her opponent. You called out to the attacker, "Quick, take these leaflets away, good man, because I, as a lawyer, never break the election silence. I refuse to distribute these leaflets thrown to my feet." The man took out his phone and called the city guard, imprisoning the lady and her son. She, however, reminisces about the merits of the cursed soldiers who have been slaves many times. They escaped, biting the attacker to the bone. They took advantage of the shock caused by an unusually sharp teeth attack. That is all. The hula baloo echoed in the distance. Roman Giertych. It doesn't seem to be an accident that only 4 days ago President Andrzej Duda presented his election campaign staff with attorney Joanna Turczynowicz-Kieryło as its new face. Some columnists stressed that this shows that this year's campaign will be especially brutal. Ironically, if her story checks out, and my intuition tells me it will, since no real woman would attack and bite a person for no reason, then all the people who insinuate something else transpired will lose, and Mrs. Turczynowicz and her supporters will come out on top. Presidential elections will take place on May 10th. The incumbent President Andrzej Duda is in the lead in all pre-election opinion polls so far.
The head of the European People's Party and former Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, has met with the Civic Platform Party's candidate for President of Poland, Małgorzata Kidawa-Błońska. Tusk stated that he will support her in her run for the highest office.
I just reported my full combat readiness to Mrs. Speaker.
Yesterday, Bernie Sanders scored a decisive victory in the Democratic presidential caucus in Nevada and gained a fresh burst of momentum. Former Vice President Joe Biden came in on second place, giving his struggling campaign some much-needed hope. Sanders, a senator from Vermont, had 45% of the county convention delegates in Nevada, with about 4% of the precincts reported, and television networks predicted he would cruise to an easy win. But there were long delays getting more results reported more than 5 hours after the caucus started.
We are going to win across the country because the American people are sick and tired of a president who lies all of the time. They are sick and tired of a corrupt administration. They are sick and tired of a president who is undermining American democracy, who thinks he is above the law.
Biden, the former vice president, appeared headed to a badly needed strong showing after poor finishes in the first two contests in Iowa and New Hampshire for the party's nomination to face Republican President Donald Trump in the November election. He was a distant second to Sanders with 19% of the votes, but ahead of former Mayor Pete Buttigieg on South Bend, Indiana, in third with 16%. Senator Elizabeth Warren was trailing in a disappointing fourth with 11% in Nevada, where voters poured into more than 250 sites around the state. Sanders showed signs of expanding his support beyond his core supporters, riding a wave of backing most age groups, Latinos and union members to victory in Nevada. Entrance polls also showed heavy backing for his government-run Medicare for All healthcare plan.
12 years ago, we bailed out the crooks on Wall Street. Now it is their turn to help the working families in this country.
The next primary will be held on February 29th in South Carolina, followed by the Super Tuesday contests in 14 states on March 3rd that pick more than one-third of the pledged delegates who will help select a Democratic nominee. Trade unions grouping together Hungarian teachers have announced that they will start strikes or protests next month against Prime Minister Viktor Orban's new national curriculum for primary and high school students. The teachers say they refuse to learn out the material, which they consider too nationalist and conservative. Liberal and socialist teachers and students gathered for a flash mob protest in Budapest against a new school curriculum, which they criticize for promoting nationalism and curbing academic freedoms. The chief problem is the fact that certain writers got into the main literature not because they are great writers, but they got into the literature curriculum because they are far-right. In the education field, Orban has tightened control of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences and forced the Central European University, founded by George Soros, to leave the country. Nobody cares about our opinion. Apart from us, there are many other schools, scientists, literary historians, the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, writers abroad, for example, from Transylvania, Romania, and what we are getting as a response is that we are the enemy of the nation, and all is well as it is written down. Prime Minister Orban's government now has its eyes on primary schools. The new curriculum has significant changes in the subjects of history and Hungarian, aimed to strengthen the country's national identity. There was a need for change in the identity-forming subjects of history and literature. This was not a matter of professional debate, and the changes that were made will be beneficial for the whole of the Hungarian education. The PDSZ union has said it will begin strike or protest action in early March and that teachers will sabotage the new curriculum if it stays in its present form. That is all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for Poland Daily Business. Good night.